Welcome again to the Ref Show. Now, for once, there's not a lot going on, but we're going to fill the gap because it's time to put our foot on the ball, to take stock and talk about refereeing issues generally. The game as it is it a more entertaining game now than it used to be? As it used to be in the days when David Hirst played football for Sheffield Wednesday, Southampton and England. But really, principally, David, you and I are going to nod in this section of the programme. We're talking about referees and referees development. We have an expert, Keith Hackett. Where do we stand, Keith? You've been extremely critical of refereeing standards in the Premier League, very objective. But surely we've come a long way in standard from your time.
Oh, massively. I mean, the laws themselves have changed, and the law changes, the pass back to the goalkeeper, it really impacted on the pace. That meant that in a period on the Premier League that I was in charge, the pace of the game went up by 40%. Number of sprints by players from 25 to 50. There were a lot of analysis available that said, look, referees needed to be fitter, hence the introduction of professional referees. But the other one, of course, is the tackle from behind, where in a sense that's now a foul challenge, and the clarification of that to protect players, because those were allowed in my day, no longer are they allowed, but what we've now got is players compensating by that, changing the law to holding, grappling and doing other things which...
you get rid of one evil and you introduce another, but maybe the lesser of two evils, David.
Well, I'd certainly rather be pulled on the shirt than kicked from behind, definitely. But no, as Keith says, it's rule changes have helped the game massively, and the referees have implied them, you know, and that's the way forward.
And what difference would it make to your career as a fast raiding striker who was fouled from behind repeatedly, particularly by Arsenal defenders, as Sheffield Wednesday fans will recall? What difference would it have made if you'd played
I'd like
today?
to think I'd have got 4, 5, maybe 6 years left in the career. You know, adds it on. You know, because they do take their toll. I mean, I had a couple of broken ankles and things, you know, and calves where, you know, bruised up that you can't play. You know, so yeah, but that's what we're looking for. We're looking to improve the game, whichever way it comes from, whether it be a rule change, refereeing decisions, you know, and fitness of the referees, you know, being up with the game.
You've introduced the word that we're coming to next with, Keith, fitness, particularly...
Me introducing the word fitness, there's a new one for the world.
An absolute first. Hursty and fitness are first. But referees have had to keep pace with the quicker game, Keith, haven't they?
Well, I think that's where I've been critical. I think we put in all the sort of foundations of sports science to improve the fitness and mobility of referees, and really at the end of the day only a couple of referees on the Premier League last season demonstrated their levels of fitness. Clattenburg certainly was outstanding, putting in the effort during the course of the game, and when we analyse the errors being made, and let's not forget 69 major errors in a season is a massive amount of error. Those were all down to...
actually more than 90, I think,
well,
in the actual total.
Yeah, but again, you know, this whole aspect of the errors was in many instances down to poor positioning, poor viewing angles. And of course that then leads on to the other thing. The massive change was in my day, Match of the Day might be there. And when Match of the Day were in attendance, we had 3 cameras. So we weren't that exposed, although when we were on a Match of the Day game, we waited at 10 o'clock plus for Jimmy Hill's comments, and when they came and they were negative, they hit us hard. There's no escape for the modern referee. The modern referee is operating on the 22 cameras minimum, some fantastic camera work, and that's where the exposure comes. And this is why I'm delighted we're moving towards video refereeing to put in some balance into helping the referee to get those 90 plus errors, as you rightly say, down, so that we get a game where the results at the end of the day are down to players, not down to referees' errors.
So your sofa, was it big enough to hide behind, Keith?
Mine was big enough. I certainly carried a few pounds then, and I do now. But I think at the end of the day, when I got the criticism, I used that criticism to react and hopefully react in a positive manner.
Yeah. You've been very critical, but you've also been very objective. David, you've been on the panel many, many times. What have you made of Mark's, House's comments? And Keith's have been very pointed at times. Have they been fair?
I think they've been fair, yeah. I mean, like you say, you've got two very experienced men from that role of football, you know, injecting what their knowledge is about the game. And I think it's been fantastic to sit here and listen to ex-referees, you know, not only bull their pals up, but also bring them down again when they need to be.
There's been some resentment of that, but I suppose that's
But
human
that's
nature. But players,
without a doubt,
players feel the same towards ex-players who slam them, don't they?
Of course they do, but we have an opinion and we express it. You know, whether the decision is right, whether the decision is wrong, we all have that opinion. And I like to think valued opinions. Yeah. You know, nobody's sat here wishing anybody wrong. We're just trying to correct the game.
Yeah, it's not been personal.
No.
Well, I mean, what we've actually said is, look, the referees need leadership. Whoever that is, it needs leadership and direction. What we've seen in recent weeks in the Euros is Kalina giving clear leadership, clear direction, and appointing referees specifically to the games, i.e., whatever game it is, what referee am I going to put on it, nationality and all that comes into that foray. And over recent weeks, we've been extremely complimentary of the performance of referees out in Europe. And we've seen a massively improved Martin Atkinson. Let's make no mistake, 3 games in the Euros, all refereed with real aplomb. And credit to him for achieving that standard. We weren't necessarily seeing the same Martin Atkinson officiate the Premier League. With Clattenburg, what Clattenburg you see, you get. Whatever the game is, it's a cup final for him, and he's going to put everything into it. And therefore, he too has had an outstanding European Championships today.
I mean, I spoke to a partner of one of the officials out there, one of the English officials out there this week, and I asked how was he going on out there. And she said he's enjoying the experience, but it's hard work. They're training every day, every morning and afternoon. That's all they're doing, you know, and that's great professionalism. I can imagine Keith being out there back in the day. There'd have been a nice little bite to eat, a little glass of wine, this, probably breakfast, dinner, and tea, you know.
But far
right. It was fascinating to listen to. He says, "Oh, we get up on a morning, bit of breakfast without training." People, the fans, the players don't see the professionalism that is now in the game in refereeing. Yeah.
Should every major league around the world be aspiring to the standards that Mr. Chiellini and his referees have laid down?
Oh, I've no doubt. I mean, I think that the demands of the game across the world now, the professional leagues, all those leagues should be moving towards professional refereeing in the same way that England set that trend. But as you say, we've been critical of English referees because I think they've dropped back. I mean, I was very keen in terms of sports science and performance analysis and accountability. I think we've seen that some referees have been meandering. And in fairness, I think some younger referees who have great potential, needing, if you like, that boot up the rear and that guidance through a better coaching structure that actually gets out of them the benefits of the potential that they have aspired to.
Okay.
It's just like the game in football itself. Players, you know, the more professional that players have got, the better the game's got. And it's same in the refereeing department.
And it is a fast-moving and very exciting spectacle, isn't it, really? And the referees are part of that. And it strikes me that's been almost top of the list for Chiellini, or was during the Euros, that he wanted the game to flow.
Well, you're absolutely right, Alan. We've seen some challenges, and even I've gone, whoops, but they've been allowed. You know, that first 15 minutes, and probably a little bit less on occasions, they've allowed the game to breathe. They've allowed the players to manage themselves. And the players have responded. That's the benefit. Yeah. You know, it's been massive in terms of how the players reacted. He said before this tournament, mobbing of referees would be massive and we will deal with it. Yeah. Hey, they've dealt with it. Yeah, grappling, where is it?
Absolutely.
We're only beginning to see it, you know, the Welsh a little bit, which is, you know, okay, those players coming into the game.
Great points as ever from Keith and from David. There's more of this to come. Do join us for that one. We'll talk about attracting more officials into the game, into the domestic game in England. The problem of the shortfall there, abuse might be one of the elements that dissuades referees, and also the dearth of female officials. There should be more of them. Join us for that. A defender already on a yellow card stands just in front of the ball to stop a direct free kick being taken quickly. In an attempt to get him sent off, the taker hammers the ball at him, only to see him jump out of the way. The ball smashes into the back of the defending captain, who collapses in agony. What do you do now?